material gravity is holding us to this planet, which, I mean, thank God at least it does that.
Yeah.
But because we're not just a pile of mud stuck on the ground, we're actually like rising up off the earth. We are in some way defying gravity, just by standing up and
Literally.
hydraulically moving our muscles around. A plant is defying gravity by reaching up towards the sun. So is that possibly anti-gravity is like paradise gravity? It's
Yes.
a higher pull
Yes. In
that's
the
pulling
opposite
us
direction.
in the opposite direction.
Yep.
So it's like positive and negative, I guess.
Exactly. And
Interesting.
but there is a universe that existed before the creation of the material universe. And it was more just like thought forms and feelings, the soul, the spirit, and the mental reality before the physical reality was around, right? Like the thought adjusters that are able to kind of cancel out gravity because they were before gravity. Does that make sense? Do you remember reading about that?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you get pre-qualified, so you're not susceptible to material gravity because you existed in a state that existed before gravity even
Okay.
existed. All of evolution looks at the sun for programming. But it's not only our sun that exists, there's other stars that exist in the network. When you look up at the stars at night, that means that light is traveling all the way across the universe and touching your eye. You're in contact with that starlight.
That is so cool.
That pattern is literally touching you and it going into your brain, your retinas, it's touching your brain.
This is
Every star, think about how many stars there are. They all have their own frequency.
yeah.
They all can program and make their own pattern. It's like a little stamp. But even though I'm close to my sun, I am still, even if I turn my head away from the stars, the starlight's still hitting the back of my head. When our star hit that first single cell in the water and evolves up to man, that single cell was not only getting hit by our star, it was getting hit by all the stars. Every frequency and pattern. So after billions of years of evolution, when we appear, all those starlight patterns are programmed into our DNA, our different rhythms, our biorhythms, our heartbeat, our breath. That's one rhythm, that's a wavelength. When we blink, that your temple, when you fall asleep and you feel that doot, doot, doot on the side of your head, like all of those different frequencies and patterns are the different starlights that are programmed into our DNA over time because of different stars, right?
Planetary HQ, baby.
All right. We are recording. If you're watching this, I do not know how you are because I probably won't be releasing it, but if you are, well, lucky you. The very first ever official Legacy planetary operation. We are now doing a road trip.
Inbound to the Urantia Summer Study Conference, right?
Yep. It's the Urantia Summer Study, the Urantia Conference 2024 in Kansas City, Missouri. We just left Tennessee right now, and we're going to be reading some cool stuff because that's what we do. Another episode of Forbidden Scrolls on the Road edition.
Yeah. Got 7.5 hours to chat it up. Delve deep into the intellectual realm, so I always say something interesting.
Yeah, it'll be a little bit more raw, uncut, because we're on the road. But I hope you guys learned something. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys can learn along with us. It looks like a mirage up there. That's crazy. It's like water.
Oh, I see that.
Yeah, desert mirage. So we're going to be reading the Keys of Enoch, key 216. Hopefully figure out some cool information about future science. So let me start from the top again.
I guess as a preface, we were talking about spirit vision. I noticed how with polarized lenses, you can see certain things that are invisible to the naked eye, just little patterns and stuff. But it brings up the question, can you visualize spirit beings? Maybe we don't have the technology or the understanding of how light interacts with spirit beings, but obviously spirit beings, if they're real, they're real. They're not just an abstract mental concept. And light is real. Light is real. So maybe light interacts with spirit beings in a way we just don't comprehend yet. He had mentioned in the Keys of Enoch, there was a description of, how'd you put it? A slice, like a micron thick slice of a mustard seed or something like that. As a lens for a radio telescope.
Yeah. Yeah. We were talking about exactly how do you perceive these entities? Is it as easy as creating a device that kind of filters light in a certain way, or it looks at light in an abstract way so that you can visualize these entities? the Urantia book intimates that we will actually develop this kind of vision through technology. Oh, I don't know the quote off the top of my head. I'm not going to look it up right now, but it's in the Urantia book. I'll find it. If I do, I'll put the quote up on the screen for the viewers when I edit this. If I edit this. But yeah, it talks about, there's a part that talks about using a mustard seed and like cutting a very thin slice, a couple microns thick, and then using that as a filter for radio telescopes and different types of radio astronomy in order to perceive the higher intelligence, ultra or extra dimensional beings, depending on what camp you come from. Aliens. So let's see how that applies to the conversation. How will this help us see the aliens? Okay, key 216. The keys to future radio physics, radio astronomy, and communication will be in the chambers of living light, which will reach towards the wisdom of the many universes through the crystal tongues of living fire. Really quickly, this chapter talks about big crystalline caverns that will be discovered in the future. This book was written in 73, and since then we have discovered really big crystal caves. They're on the Discovery Channel, National Geographic, and they're always finding new ones. Even in Europe, I think, and somewhere in the Scandinavian region, they found one also that's beautiful, and the crystals are a lot finer and different shaped, but it's also a crystal cavern. So we're finding different crystal caverns of different shapes, types of crystals. Really cool.
I believe there was one in the Midwest. It was either in Mexico or in New Mexico, but it was massive. It's off limits to explore. Just these massive shafts, these columns of quartz crystal. Photos of the spelunkers crawling around on them. Little human beings are tiny on these massive quartz crystals. So maybe they're like antennas. I don't know. 3D crystalline antennas.
Exactly. And he's talking about how, due to piezo electricity, the electromagnetic properties of quartz and other crystalline structures, but specifically quartz, and talking about that cave, our Earth has that core of magma that spins and creates a really big electromagnetic field for our planet. That magma, that magma sloth, that lava is made up of a lot of liquid quartz, actually. Now, when liquid quartz is spun in like a toroidal fashion, such as it is within the center of our planet, it creates gnarly electromagnetic anomalies, I guess you would say. We know this is normal science. We have the magnetosphere around the Earth. You can go on Google and look it up. Earth's magnetic field. It does a lot for us. It protects us actually from solar storms, solar radiation. But so our Earth is generating that field due to the magnetohydrodynamics of the core in relation to the surface, the crust, and the quartz fields, creating that electric charge. If you're getting static electricity when you rub your socks on your feet, imagine how much electricity you're generating on the core of molten quartz and lava that's huge, is spinning in a toroid, you know? So that's getting generated on a planetary scale. And it says that the quartz in these caves are tapped into that field. And it says that gravitic field, that gravitational field, is actually linked into a system. So our planetary gravity field is linked into our sun's gravitational field. And our sun's gravitational field is also linked into another star, Sirius, is gravitational field. So different suns are connected over far distances through gravitational lines. Networking through gravity, exactly.
Now, what this makes me think of is possibly stars are a way for celestial agencies to indirectly influence life on our world from a distance. You know, we're like, obviously, from our perspective, there are angelic hosts that maybe really fostered and nurtured evolution on our planet. But for like life in the most basic sense, let's talk about photosynthesis, like a plant. It needs the sun's energy to survive. It's kind of interesting to consider, what if information is encoded in light rays from the sun, and it's almost like step down transformers in a power distribution system where you got, like, you know, high voltage lines, like transmission lines, going to these big 3-phase transformers. That steps it down to like smaller distribution lines that go into like commercial businesses. You see those boxes outside of a neighborhood or something. Steps it down even further. Got a telephone pole with a little transformer or something like that. You get into your house, you got a little tiny, what do they call it, a wall wart or whatever, that you plug your phone into. It's a tiny little transformer so you don't blow up your phone. Likewise, it's interesting to consider maybe our sun, our star, is receiving energy or information from a higher source, maybe the center of our galaxy, another star, maybe there's a network, maybe it's like, local universe, major sector, minor sector, constellation, system, that kind of thing. But like, then, our human body's upright. We're kind of like Tesla coils. I'd seen this visualization before where like our brain is almost like the what do they call it? The top load or whatever of a Tesla coil.
Yeah.
Then our spine is like an antenna, and our DNA strands are actually like little antennas as well. It's pretty interesting stuff.
From the top all the way down, how that pattern is somehow transmitted across vast distances in the cosmos. And how, like you said, the information can be encoded in light and gravity. Like this is basic binary, ones and zeros. That's easy, left, right, off, on, up, down, whatever, however you want to say it. 2 different factors that can easily be transmitted in gravitational waves over distance and time with 2 gravity bodies communicating, but you can do a lot more than just that binary. You can do a lot more. But so that's what the chapter is kind of talking about. And let's dive into it. Key number 16 is speaking of the greater unity we will share with many universes when we begin to use crystal tongues of living fire to achieve even greater knowledge beyond what can be achieved by contemporary radio physics, radio astronomy, and communications.
If you don't mind me asking a few questions as you go through this, could you give us a brief little definition of what is a crystal fire tongue?
A crystal tongue of living fire would be those caves.
Oh, why is it called a tongue? Is it talking about like that's the mouthpiece we communicate? I guess it's like a transducer or something. What is it of living fire? It's like,
it's a poetic way of talking about it.
Okay.
I think that's how you would see it if it was activated correctly.
Okay.
And it'll explain it more.
All right.
These crystal tongues of living fire are activated crystals, which are used to carry on communication with star regions of intelligences operating within or beyond our electromagnetic spectrum. Our spectrum, defined as the arrangement of electromagnetic radiation to its frequency as an observed spectrum, indicates the way material absorbs or emits electromagnetic radiation at different frequencies. Our spectrum is limited compared to the greater spectrum of the living light, which coordinates with the many electromagnetic spectrums and which has more complex spectra in the advanced star worlds. Without the consciousness to go beyond our electromagnetic spectrum, we remain oblivious to the living light. Radio astronomers presently are taking into account heterodyne detections to get phase differences and detect motions of masses affected by the passage of wavefronts. This causes a shift that yields a frequency difference between beams. The incoming wavefront is subdivided by the sub-wavefront measurements. I wish I could get so advanced one day where I could understand what he means.
I know, right? I'm really curious to kind of study radio astronomy.
There's some guy that's like, yes, oh my God.
Yes. He gets it.
Figured it out. However, radio astronomers will begin to discover anti-gravity sensitive crystallized particles by using improved radio synthesis having ultraviolet sensitivity. The control of these sets will help establish a more universal communication system in the intergalactic medium. The crystals are to be used as cyborg devices to amplify and filter communication signals. They are used by the higher evolution as fundamental building blocks to set up a measurable grid of a larger harmonic system, which allows for different combinations of wave structures to unite and form myriads of gravitational wave combinations, which, in turn, react with one another to transmit thought forms to physical planetary realities.
Okay, I'll have to stop you there. This is something we had kind of already briefly talked about, but it's interesting that it's describing gravitational waves interacting with light.
Yeah.
What would you mind backing up and rereading that one little part one more time?
Yeah. So crystals are to be used as cyber devices to amplify and filter communication signals. They are used by the higher evolution as fundamental building blocks to set up a measurable grid of a larger harmonic system, which allows for different combinations of wave structures to unite and form myriads of gravitational wave combinations of different geometries.
Okay.
Which in turn react with one another to transmit thought forms to physical planetary realities.
That is fascinating. Okay, so I actually got something to say about that. There's when you're talking about modular synthesizers, you're modulating waves. You know, you got your like attack, delay, sustain, and release, and then you got, you know, sine waves, square waves, sawtooth, and all that. And when you modulate waves, when you interact two different waves with each other, you know, two of the exact same wave, it amplifies. Two waves where the crests and trowels are like out of phase with each other, it'll just cancel out.
Oh, yeah.
But the interplay of like two of the same wave in a slightly different frequency, you'll get like a weird little wobbly looking kind of wave. And so with frequency modulation synthesis, which I have a lot of fun with, it's just like two simple sine waves that you got at different frequencies. And you got like kind of lower frequencies, you'll get some real trippy sounds like, you know, like weird kind of like Star Wars sounding stuff. And you can get real cool harmonic drones and stuff like that and add effects to it. But what you're just describing makes me think of a wavetable. You were talking about like a lattice grid, like a matrix of waves.
Yes.
What's interesting though is you were describing gravitational waves, not sound waves. So it makes me think that in some trippy kind of way, advanced races or celestial beings or something like that can actually modulate gravitational waves in the same way that a musician would modulate sound waves.
Exactly. Yeah. Isn't that wild?
And so, like, I guess a wavetable, this one's a little over my head, but I guess like a wavetable, you're storing a bunch of different sound waves into like a table, like a matrix, and they all interact with each other to get real complex textures, real interesting kind of tones that you couldn't just with basic, simple sound waves. But like, so like gravitational waves, what are we talking about here? Because like, from my understanding, modern physics, we still don't fully understand what gravity actually is. We got some ideas, but still a mystery.
So how we were just talking about how gravity is the mechanism that you use in your mind when you think of thought. So you think of a car, think of a shoe, think of the universe, think of you doing something, think of your past, all those memories. Those are light pictures in your mind, and you are modulating photons with your mind using gravity. So inherently in the personality, you have the ability to modulate gravity. You have the ability to modulate light.
So it's kind of like what the Urantia book would refer to as like spirit gravity or paradise gravity.
Exactly. Or mental gravity, because remember they also have mental gravity too.
Okay, so there's like different types or levels or dimensions of gravity, just like we have different dimensions of like, you know, not only spatial dimensions, but temperature, alkalinity, electric charge, those could all be thought of as dimensions. So maybe there's like dimensions of gravity.
Exactly. And he's talking about the higher intelligence can envelop thought forms and gravity packets that are resistant to time-space conditions because they like the Urantia talks about, they're pre-qualified to gravity, these concepts. Yeah, so the higher intelligence has the ability to envelope thought forms, right? Packets of thought forms, packets of data in time and space using thought forms and gravity. And they can like modulate it, put it in an envelope or a packet and like send it off.
That is fascinating.
Through the cosmos. and then it'll ride on like those gravitational lines and shit.
What's interesting is that one sentence you read, there's so much to unpack there. I feel like there's still a lot to be said. It's interesting to consider, like, gravitational waves are actually something that can be modulated. So it calls me to wonder, like, if light has sort of a density to it, like if light can take on a density as it coalesces, maybe that's what particles are, maybe that's what subatomic particles are. If the ultimaton is the smallest fundamental particle that we learn about the Urantia book, and if it's related to light, I mean, the Urantia book talks about different kinds of light. You got, photonic light, like kind of material light, but you also got intellectual light, which is insight. And, it takes on different meanings depending on the way you're using it, but light is what reflects back into our eyes and allows us to actually see the world around us. So it all serves the same purpose. It makes me wonder if, like, light coalesces into the subatomic particles, the quarks and the gluons that form protons and neutrons and electrons. Maybe that's why atoms can absorb photons into their electron shells, their orbitals, and then like release the photons back out. It's also interesting that coherent light, like a laser, has such interesting properties where scientists are always finding new things you can do with lasers. For some reason, is kind of what we were talking about with waves amplifying each other. Light, behaves as particles, these quanta, these little quantized packets, but it also behaves like waves. And that brings me to the idea of the hologram, which, I mean, like, I'm surprised I never learned about this in school. I found out about it on like YouTube or something, like in my late 20s, and the very understanding of like some of these physics experiments involving light just totally alters our understanding of reality, what the universe really is. But a hologram is like, you get a film, and the film is actually some like metallic nanoparticles suspended in some kind of jelly. I don't know, something like that. But you have similar to the double slit experiment, you got a beam splitter that will equally split the beam in two. It looks like a little prism or something, and the beam splits in two. No, what does that say?
Have you made a decision?
Jesus.
I will be back that hard.
I'm ready for you, Jesus. I made my decision.
Sorry.
I love those Jesus billboards. So you got these two coherent light beams. They bounce off the splitter. One of them hits an object like an apple, and the light reflects off the apple into the film. The other beam reflects off a mirror, and you get that coherent, perfect beam also hitting the film. And now the reflected light off of the apple and the coherent light cause an interference pattern on the film. This trippy thing happens on the.
You're talking about that slow-mo video of the light hitting the apple? Or no?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't seen that.
Oh, okay, you're just coming.
You'll have to share that with me.
Sorry, I just don't know for a second.
This is a hologram. I'll have to show you some footage of a hologram. It's a trip, but it's an actual film, and you turn it back and forward, and you'll see the image in 3D coded on the film.
Okay.
And
you haven't shown that to me before. I think you might have. I'm not sure.
If I haven't, I got to show you this. It's a total trip. It's like a colorful looking image, like a face, for example. You can do it with a person's face. And you look to the right, you see the right of their face. You look to the left, you see the left of their face. And interestingly enough, if you cut the film, the sheet, into a little slice, you'll see a slice of the image. But if you like look up close to it or pull it out, you'll see the whole image again. And no matter how small you cut in the holographic film, you'll still get the complete image encoded into every part of the whole. The resolution just goes down. So if you get a tiny little slice of it, you're like a fuzzy image, but the whole is still encoded into each part. So to bring it all back, I feel like gravitational waves are possibly the force that light interacts with. And some mysterious way I don't fully comprehend it, but some kind of harmonic waveform. I mean, like, I've seen some really interesting stuff by like this dude, Jerome Fenderson. He's got these oscilloscope experiments. You're showing me some kind of like this.
Yeah,
right?
making like crazy sacred geometrical shapes with like different waves.
Yeah.
Mathematical waves and formulas, yeah.
That's right. You're literally bending light. You're deflecting these light beams on an oscilloscope to generate actual 3D images and stuff like that. So I guess we're doing that in our mind.
Yes, exactly, in our mind.
CRT, third eye. It's pretty cool.
Mine's higher resolution than CRT. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So that's a way to communicate. Adam and Eve had these delicate gas chambers in their mind that they were able to communicate telepathically. Remember, over 50 miles, according to the Urantia book. So they were able to oscillate thought forms, and they used the word oscillate for that paragraph. So Adam and Eve can oscillate thought forms and telepathically launch them 50 miles so that people can see them.
Speaking of which, I brought walkie-talkies. I don't know if we'll use them, but
That'll come in handy.
it'll oscillate some thought forms at a distance that goes up to 25 miles.
It'd be demonic technology.
Yeah.
Okay. So keep going. These wave structures include internal gravitational wave flux and isolated wave flux, so that there is an interaction and propagation of condensed gravitational waves which cancel the accretion of all particles in anti-gravity interaction.
Okay, so I guess by flux is referring to the waves traveling through different mediums or transferring from one medium to another. That's my understanding of flux anyway, is like electricity passing through a substance, carrying over its charge in a different form or something like that. So what is that talking about? Gravitational waves in your mind?
Yeah. I don't know exactly what they mean by flux. I thought it just meant like modulation movement, but it might have more technical meaning, like you're saying.
Okay, yeah, like the movement through a medium, I guess.
But I don't think I've ever looked up the definition of flux. But I know flux, when used in like circuit boards, is like that medium you use, right?
Yeah, that's right.
For like
Yeah, when you're soldering, yes, it helps the metal melt and like dwarf onto
the thing, yeah.
That's right. And I think it helps transfer the heat. Maybe that's some like flux is like some physics term, some thermodynamic thing. Could try this. Hey Google.
What's flux, Google?
Hey Google.
No, I can use my phone.
Define flux.
Hey Google, what's flux? Define it.
Define flux.
Oh my God.
Flux is any effect that appears to pass or travel through a surface or substance.
Yeah,
Flux is a concept in applied mathematics and vector calculus, which has many applications to physics. For transport phenomena, flux is a vector quantity describing the magnitude and direction of the flow of a substance or property.
Okay.
Or it could just mean the direction that a property is flowing towards.
Okay, so like a 3D vector, it has magnitude, which is the length of the arrow that's stored in the vector. That's got direction. That's just like the three numbers, find X, Y, Z. I guess flux is maybe if you got a vector field, you can trace the arrows to see how
it passes through the field.
Yeah, whatever you're describing, like wind over a surface or energy in a substance.
Yeah.
Okay. We're expanding our minds here.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. Thinking of what our minds are doing with their minds.
That's cool.
So gravitational wave flux, it's happening in our heads, yeah. From the synthesis of gravitational and anti-gravitational waveforms, myriads of other waves are created which blend in sympathetic resonance, thus forming the physical structures of communication.
Okay, I'm sorry. Can you say that one more time? I just heard a word I really...
Continue strike.
I just heard a word that gives me great pleasure is sympathetic resonance.
Yeah, I know, you say it all the time. It's just making those standing waves.
It's... Oh, okay, yeah. Let's hear that one more time. Pretty much all of these we gotta read twice to really
Continue
get
straight.
it.
From the synthesis of gravitational and anti-gravitational waveforms, myriads of other waves are created, which blend in sympathetic resonance, thus forming the physical structures of communication.
But okay, that's interesting. So anti-gravitational waveforms. I'm gonna leave that alone for now.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing. But like, from what I understand, sympathetic resonance, or sympathetic vibration is where it's an interesting effect, where you get like two tuning forks at a distance, but they're tuned to the same frequency, like a C note. And you ding one, and this one way over here will start vibrating, and it's because the waves traveling through the air, just the compression and rarefaction of the air molecules at that frequency is actually hitting that tuning fork, and because it's tuned to that, it's sensitive, so it starts actually vibrating. You'll hear full on ring coming from it. And apparently the scientist John Worrell Keely had kind of mastered this to achieve like an engine that runs on water and acoustic levitation of objects and stuff. But it's interesting in saying like there's some kind of sympathetic resonance of what is it saying, the crystal caverns at a distance?
Yeah, and planets.
And planets.
And planets at a distance.
Okay. That's how they're able to transmit information.
Yep. Then they're talking about so earlier we were talking about being able to envelope thought forms in gravitational packets and send them on their merry way across the universe to hit planets and shower them in love and light. Or for, communication, that kind of stuff. Now it's elsewhere in the book, and I'm pulling from the Urantia book, but the keys say there are, and okay, it's using Urantia terminology, mixing them both, sorry, but the material universe was kind of secondarily created, The Paradise of Onda system was first, and then we get our dense, gross material universe that we consider home. But there is a universe that existed before the creation of the material universe. And it was more just like thought forms and feelings, the soul, the spirit, and the mental reality before the physical reality was around, right?
So like a trippy realm of intellectual patterns.
Exactly, and symbols and concepts. But there's feelings, it's real, And
I guess time, space
condensed
doesn't really exist in the same way as we understand it.
No, not over there. So all those are concepts that are ancient, primordial to the universe. They existed before the universe existed. And when those concepts are they are pre-qualified in time and space. Does that make sense? They don't need a they're absolute. They have already qualified. They're like on an existential level. Does that make sense? So the Urantia book talks about certain things that are able to, like the thought adjusters that are able to kind of cancel out gravity because they were before gravity. Does that make sense? Do you remember reading about that?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you get pre-qualified, so you're not susceptible to material gravity because you existed in a state that existed before gravity even existed.
Okay, I got an analogy here.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's when you're programming and you're writing code, you declare a variable, and a variable is like what in algebra, like C is equal to 5 or whatever.
Okay.
But like in programming, everything is numbers to computers, but to the programmer, like the whole point of writing a program is something that you can actually understand, and ideally, maybe even other programmers can understand it too. So you're naming the numbers. You'll name a variable called health, and that's equal to 10. And in a little video game, a character loses health, and that variable goes down. You can also declare another variable that's equal to another variable, or even equal to a function. It gets pretty complicated. Like you can get as complicated as you want with it, but there's something called scope. And that's where like at the top of the program, you declare a variable that's accessible just within that program. Let's say you save a file, like a Python script. That variable is just there within that program, but then you declare a function within that program. If you declare a variable within that function, that variable can only be used within that function. But if you would try to call on that variable outside of the function, the code doesn't know what it is. It doesn't know what you're trying to like invoke, Likewise, you can have like variables and scripts in a scope beyond even that little Python script, like some header kind of thing where all the scripts can use the same variables from some main like file or whatever, And so there's like layers of scope. And so let's say like by this analogy, gravity and physics and everything we understand in our universe is like declared in like a Python script. But there's a higher scope beyond even that where there are other realms beyond our comprehension. And
they're not time-space conditioned.
Yeah, like they're not bound by our rules, even though they can come down and interact with us.
Exactly. So that's exactly what I'm trying to explain. It's a long computational way, programming way of saying it, but pretty much, there are preconditioned, pre-qualifying, what do you call it? Those things, variable?
Yeah.
Variables that exist at a higher level.
Like a higher scope.
The higher scope.
Beyond our little realm, I guess.
Yeah. So the Keys talks about that there's actual concepts. Then it says like love and brotherhood are these concepts. Like these are the eternal concepts that have existed since the beginning of time, since before recorded history. Love, brotherhood, courage, teamwork, all those are real. And that's why when you get those in your spirit, it propels you through space. You start walking around with more motivation, your chest out a little bit more. It's anti-gravitic because you're now tapping into that thing that is preconditioned. It's anti-gravitic because it existed before gravity.
Okay.
Yeah. So it like came first in the sequence. Our material gravity is second.
Oh, so that almost makes me think like material gravity is holding us to this planet, which, I mean, thank God at least it does that.
Yeah.
But because we're not just a pile of mud stuck on the ground, we're actually like rising up off the earth. We are in some way defying gravity, just by standing up and
literally
hydraulically moving our muscles around. A plant is defying gravity by reaching up towards the sun. So is that possibly anti-gravity is like paradise gravity? It's a higher pull.
Yes.
That's pulling us in the opposite direction. Yes. So it's like positive and negative, I guess.
Exactly. And
interesting.
And then there's these high concepts that like scenario abstracts or mental pictures that you could say that you can, I guess, grasp onto and they'll propel you forward. Or if we're talking about enveloping these gravitational waves and these gravity or these mental pictures and gravity waves and projecting them out into space or using them for telepathic communication or using it for interstellar communication. That's what he's talking about with the crystal caverns able to do. Like we're able to transmit mass programs, not even just one data packet, not one quantum, but like massive amounts of data via these gravitationally trapped packets of light.
Do you think this is like a way in the material world on planets of practicing reflectivity?
Yes. That's exactly
what that is?
That's what I think. I think this is talking about the reflectivity mechanism. I've always equated that.
Okay.
Like this is and it says instant communication. He says it a lot.
Okay. That's pretty interesting.
Right. That's exactly what I think about that. I think this is that exactly. All right, let's keep doing. The higher evolution placed crystal monitors in the lines of force of our magnetic fields to modulate non-electromagnetic wavelengths of communication. These crystal monitors break the synchrotronic radiations so that the magnetic field share a new network of communication, allowing the old system of communication, including satellite communications, to be sufficiently altered in orbit to receive the new network frequency of the higher evolution.
Okay, what the hell? That was another word salad there, but there's some interesting words like synchrotronic. I mean, what is he referring to? So a synchrotron is, like you get a particle accelerator, like a LINAC, like a linear accelerator that shoots a particle out, like a light beam of just pure protons or pure electrons or something that's bent by these bending magnets. And what a synchrotron is, so a cyclotron, you get these magnets that alternate, these D magnets. They alternate real fast, and it bends the particle back and forth into a spiral where it can project out and go to like a MRI machine or an electron microscope. But a synchrotron stores that in a storage ring. So you actually have a ring of light that's just stored as long as you're supplying power to it. And because the magnets are just feeding it back into itself in a loop. And then you can branch off that synchrotron and almost like turning a water faucet, you can tap into it and get this brightest light source in the universe to trail off into your little experimental station. So what's he talking about with synchrotrons there?
That's the first time I've ever even was able to conceptualize a synchrotron. I didn't know what the hell that meant.
It's like a storage ring of light.
The higher evolution placed crystal monitors and the lines of force, so like ley lines.
So what, like master physical controllers or something or whatever?
Yeah,
like
like master physical controllers.
What are they called? Like those beings, chronal decks?
I was just gonna say chronal decks and Frandalanx.
Yeah.
Frandalanx and chronal decks. Yeah, I think about them too. And he talks about something like a chronometer, a type of being. It kind of sounds like a chronal deck.
It's freaking weird, but it's really fascinating.
So they plate on those lines of force, the electromagnetic ley lines, the gravitational lines, the tectonic plate lines, ley lines.
Oh, okay, yeah, like on a map, and you got like geopathic stress.
Yes, yeah. So the higher evolution placed crystal monitors in our.
The higher evolution, is he talking about?
Yeah, it's capitalized every time it says higher evolution. He's referring to like the Seraphim and the Brotherhood.
Oh shit!
Integrated together, like just the cosmic force as a.
So they've placed monitors on the ley lines.
Yes. Remember, have you heard of earthquake lights? Every time an earthquake happens, people see those UFO lights starting to flash.
I never heard of that.
We'll put the video in the description. I always say that, and I forget to put it in the description. Okay, so they placed it there to modulate non-electromagnetic wavelengths of communication.
Non-electromagnetic wavelengths of communication. So it's not electromagnetic, but they're still waves. Is that why we observe like the effects of dark energy and dark matter, and it's just something we don't understand what it is? That's why we call it dark.
That's something out of the EM spectrum.
It's beyond
the EM spectrum.
Even radio waves, microwaves, all that. So
yeah, they're talking like spirit waves.
Dude, I wonder if that
mind waves. Like fuck.
Okay, so does that imply like we could look out into space and there could be entire structures we don't even see, like entire nebulas and galaxy kind of.
We're getting there, dog. That's what he's talking about. He's going to start talking about how we can set that up.
Fast
for the Legacy Lab, we're gonna recreate all these experiments too.
You picked a good chapter to read. This is some interesting stuff.
So okay, and then these crystal monitors break the synchrotronic radiations so that the magnetic fields share a new network of communication, allowing the ultimate communications, including satellite communications, to be sufficiently altered in orbit to receive the new network frequency of the higher evolution.
So what is it just talking about? There's a way to translate that into something our equipment can use.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So their type of technology is so omnipotent. I don't know if that's the correct word, but just for shits and giggles, it's so omnipotent that it can even harness our cheap electron binary 1-0s.
Well, what's interesting is that, I mean, take it what you will. It could just be a work of sci-fi, but that book, UFO Contact from Planet Yarga, that was how.
Buy it now.
It's apparently these aliens talking to an engineer and describing to him how their stuff works and how their planet is, their culture and all that. They described their flying saucers run off to 2 synchrotrons running in different directions of these light rings. And then they have these ducts where like the 2 opposing light beams will intersect with each other at any point on the flying saucer, and that's what gives it rise.
I don't know what they're talking about right now, but that makes sense. That's a good way to think about it.
That's interesting. So there's something about synchrotrons that like advanced races have mastered light through the synchrotron, I guess. It was pretty cool.
Our planetary technology will be influenced by the higher evolution, which will place our communication satellites into new orbits and use them to channel instructions to our planetary systems. Even public communication channels are to be used by the higher evolution to reach all nations of the earth with the message of deliverance, giving strength to the testimony of the light workers.
Okay, take it as you will, take it with a grain of salt, but like that Millennium Update, the Urantia Millennium Update, do you remember that? They were talking about like a satellite they built that advanced races can build satellites to like throw into orbit on their planet that
To get like
allow
cosmic-
reflectivity or something.
Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
So I think that's
That's
what that's talking about. Like
Exactly. Yeah.
maybe the guy who wrote the Millennium Update read the Keys of Enoch and got that idea.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Maybe, I don't know.
Or both
Or it's a
handled and
legit
both
thing.
real.
Yeah, that's right.
The higher evolution will also activate 12 crystalline fields of communication within the Earth's planetary logos so that man can communicate with the distant galaxies.
Wow.
These crystalline fields are to be found throughout the world in 12 subterranean channels where crystalline energy has been previously used to outfit a scientific technology.
Oh.
We must understand that the keys to radio physics, radio astronomy, and communication are in these chambers of the Earth, which are being revisited by the Brothers of Light so that our technology can be focused into them. This will allow us to unlock the grid mappings and understand why these crystalline centers are used as coordination points for many fields of communication to overlap with the living life.
Okay. Quick question about what would you say, the Brotherhood?
Yep. But when they refer to the Brothers of Light,
Brothers of Light?
they specifically referring to mortals or the Adamic images. So like evolutionary, like suns.
So they're not talking about like midway creatures or something, are they? Because
it could be the midway creatures too.
Because I'd wonder that like this idea of like the Great White Brotherhood, you hear in like Theosophy or Twin Peaks, you got the White Lodge or whatever, and it's some kind of spirit beings, and it makes me wonder if that is literally midway creatures. That is
I can see that. I remember was
ascended
talking about
masters,
this before.
you know. Yeah. We kind of touched on this before.
And that the Brotherhood of Light is like all these ascendant hominid type of beings.
Yeah.
Keys of Enoch, the Great White Brotherhood. But I would see the midwayers being a part of that too. Because, you know, they're like kind of celestial beings and they're in the Adamic image. So like, why else wouldn't they qualify? They just serve in a specific purpose, dimension,
At least not the rebel midwayers, I guess.
They're just long lost cousins,
Yeah.
All right. So these 12 crystalline grids intersecting the Earth act as focal points for the transmission of faster than light particles. These grids are a combination of momentum space angles controlling faster than light particle movement and crystal polarization rates. These grids polarize left-handed and right-handed rotations in the field of gravitational energy pulling between the Earth and the Sun.
Damn, this guy's going
right.
Out there with the physics concepts.
Under conditions of faster than light particles being used in extraterrestrial communication, the crystalline focal points can be used to cause the wave amplitudes to collapse and set up a wave helix for communication through gravitational waves. Thus, on a cosmic scale, a wave helix. Damn. Remember those Sumerian tablets we were seeing? They had like those wave helixes and like the gods were.
Oh, yeah, the tree of life and stuff?
Yeah.
Huh.
Thus, on a cosmic scale, where there are protons embedded in a magnetic field matrix, a unique spatial orientation can be established. Oh, wow. Protons embedded in That's pretty cool, though. On a cosmic scale, where there are protons embedded in a magnetic field matrix, a unique spatial orientation can be established.
What does that say?
So protons are like the actual heart particles, right? Neutrons are kind of neutral, and electrons, like protons are like the densest of them all.
Oh,
so,
I didn't realize that. And electrons are just like the flow of energy.
Exactly. So if you have protons embedded in a magnetic field matrix, you can kind of get like it says you can actually get a unique spatial orientation. So you can measure that because it's a hard measurement.
What do you mean a unique spatial orientation? Is it talking about like a waveform made out of protons? Like you get
I'm just thinking of a magnetic field, like a sphere.
Okay.
And then just protons within that.
It's saying like protons allow you to physically measure the effect going on.
Yes.
Okay. Wow.
You can establish a unique spatial orientation. Yeah, it can be established.
Plum pudding. You heard of that, plum pudding?
I have. I heard it's really good.
That was the first conception of protons was...
Oh, no, I'm talking about wrong then. There was plum pudding before.
I've actually never had plum pudding, but I guess in like the late 1800s, a guy visualized like plums floating in a pudding, and that was his idea of hard particles, and that's how he came up with
It's kind of similar to what we're thinking of right now.
the idea of protons in an atom.
The cosmic gravitational field determines the lattice spacing of autonomous protons. When that proton matrix is connected with the chambers of the living light, there is a crystalline counterpart that is activated, which in turn demodulates quantum pion, electron, graviton, and photonic pulses. Never heard of quantum pions. I don't know. I'm just keep going.
We can't break down every sentence, guys.
The high command demodulates the crystalline threshold, which will allow radio astronomy and crystal astronomy to communicate with neighboring stars and planetary stars of intelligence in regions of future habitation. He says that in regions of future habitation. What's he referring to? Well, star regions of future habitation, that's imagined worlds. That's what we're going to future.
Oh, shit. Okay, so is there literally a way for
us to communicate?
Oh, okay. So even though we picture the mansion worlds as a far out, distant concept of the afterlife, it's some kind of esoteric, abstract idea. But what if right now there's some dude picking a celestial nose on a mansion world, and he's sitting there right by his instrumentation looking for signals. And on a material world, even though the material world can't see the mansion world, it's an advanced material world where an alien race is advanced far into an era of light and life. They're able to communicate with the mansion world because they're
advanced enough.
Reflectivity, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. They have the right filters set up on their telescopes.
Wow. Okay, that's a pretty cool thought.
Right.
We could communicate with the mansion world if we were, I guess. We got our shit right.
Communicating with neighboring stars and planetary stars of intelligence in regions of future habitation.
Wow. Okay.
These open crystalline fields in the Earth will allow for the beginning of biocommunication to take place beyond the present electromagnetic spectrum. In terms of radio physics and biocommunication, optical astronomy and radio astronomy will unite and experience new realities using filters formed through grids of living organic materials. Example, a mustard seed, which as part of a system can be used to witness advanced communication networks.
What? I wonder why mustard seeds, just because
it's so weird how he drops that. It's so cryptic.
And he says it's an example, so it's not even the only way to do it. It's just, what if you could use any seed? I don't know,
with different seeds allow you to see different, harmonic fields that you can't normally see with the eye.
What if? So, Terrence?
Oh my God. Okay, so I got one more thing. He's saying, so the keys also say that, I talked to you about this, every star gives off a specific vibration, and our star gives off a specific vibration. Stars program evolution, right? The single cell. When our star hit that first single cell in the water, it evolves up to man, and you can see that in evolution. Look at plants. All of evolution looks at the sun for programming. But it's not only our sun that exists, there's other stars that exist in the network. When you look up at the stars at night, that means that light is traveling all the way across the universe and touching your eye. You're in contact with that starlight.
That is so cool.
That pattern is literally touching you and going into your brain, your retinas, it's touching your brain. Every star, think about how many stars there are. They all have their own frequency.
Yeah.
And they all can program and make their own pattern. It's like a little stamp. And now imagine all those different starlights hitting a cell. Imagine if that cell was closer to that starlight or closer to that starlight. They would all look a little bit different because they're programmed by a different starlight frequency. But even though I'm close to my sun, I am still, even if I turn my head away from the stars, the starlight's still hitting the back of my head. So now let's go back to that single cell. I've told you this a million times, but for the viewers, that single cell is not only getting hit by our star, it's getting hit by all the stars. Every frequency and pattern. So after billions of years of evolution, when we appear, all those starlight patterns are programmed into our DNA, our different rhythms, our biorhythms, our heartbeat, our breath. That's one rhythm. That's a wavelength. When we blink, your temple, when you fall asleep and you feel that do on the side of your head, all of those different frequencies and patterns are the different starlights that are programmed into our DNA over time because of different stars, right? So the keys talk about this also happens for plants and flowers. So a flower, he kind of says, is an image or a geometrical pattern that is specifically coming from a specific star. So say this one star over here creates like a purple yellow flower, and that light was hitting the ground,
What?
and then that generated that star, that seed to look that color. So the different plants are more susceptible or more trained.
Shit. Okay, that's a really cool thought.
Right, and now think about that. So you could use those seeds that are growing on that harmonic vibration.
Oh, what?
Slice them up, put them in front of a fucking, and stare
Dude,
back.
this is brilliant.
Right?
So here's the thing
How crazy
about
is
the
that?
Keys of Enoch. Now I see why you're into it, is because I thought, like, all right, this guy's really well educated, but he's kind of a trip. Maybe he just had a schizophrenic breakdown and then started writing a book, and he claims he met a being or something. But
Yeah.
like, some of the ideas in there are so brilliant. Like,
Right?
how do you come up with this?
That's what I'm saying. How do you come up with this stuff? I know.
That's what gets me about the Urantia book. Like,
Same thing.
there are plenty of things in there you can say, all right, yeah, humans put their influence in there. They squirted in their little agenda, but like, there are so many concepts in the Urantia book. You're like, who can
What the
come up
heck?
with
Yeah,
this? You know,
like no human beings like
especially in the time period. You look at all the belief systems, the cosmology, the theology that was leading up to it. Like, there are some advanced ideas even within the years leading up to it, but it drops so many new ideas that are far beyond what people were thinking at the time. It really does make you wonder.
Yeah, it makes you wonder. And also, there's a weird thing going on where if you encounter these texts and you show some type of a thirst or hunger for this information, you'll notice a secret hand start to pull you towards these different sources. And,
Yeah, that's right.
Like before I even found the Urantia community, the Keys of Enoch in the Urantia book fell into my lap. Like, what are the chances?
Yeah,
Like, it almost
same.
felt
Like,
like the angels were just like, you need to read this.
I was looking everywhere for something like the Urantia book
Yeah.
at the time, and I was burning through books I could find. Like, at the time, I was reading like the Seth material, the Law of
Yeah,
Blood,
all one fell into my head
like,
at the same time, dude.
Ashtar Command or something, and then like Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life, and
Which I'm reading that, by the way. That's our next book we're reading.
oh really?
Yeah,
Okay.
I already bought it. Take trilogy.
Oh shit. Okay, that'd be a good one to go through.
John Velo.
Drimbolo Melchizedek. And so, like, my lady's dad said that some teenager at his work had told him about the Urantia book and said he should check it out. And he knew I was into that kind of stuff, so he told me about it. And I'm like, what are the odds of that? You know, like, I might have never found the Urantia book.
Right, exactly. And it's weird if we're all like going into this cosmic sandbox to have a little play life while we're alive on Earth. We're jumping in for the adventure, we're coming back out like, whoa, that was crazy. You know? What are the chances? Like, there's a billion objects in our world. There's a billion upon billion and 1 million different objects, different shapes, different colors, different cereal boxes, trillion different cereals, trillion different shoes. We have so many different things. The amount of shit you have to sift through on this planet just to find one truth nugget is ridiculous. There's like one truth item ratio to a billion distorted items or objects that your gaze can focus upon. And that's called life. And you have to fucking sift through them. You have to figure out which ones you don't want, which ones you like, which are the best ones. What are the chances of finding these texts while we're here? You know, right? Really low, really tiny. And like, it almost seems like there's a weird force it's like, yeah, you're in this dimension for a reason. You got here. Study up, because like, you don't study up, you're gonna be fucked.
That's right. Yeah.
That's how I feel.
The angels are on the edge of their seats. Like, how much can these little humanoid animals get done while they're here? You know,
exactly. Can we like literally turn their minds into beautiful minds of life? It works. It's working.
It really makes me think, though, like, that's what you were trying to tell me when we met in Atlanta at the Botanical Gardens. And you must have seen those colorful flowers in that terraria when you're telling me, like, all right, I got to tell you about stars and how the starlight hits your eyes. You were blowing my mind at the time, but that idea never entered my mind. Like, I don't know if we got distracted or something, but I don't think you were ever able to put that in my head, that different flowers are receptive to different stars.
Yes.
That's why different species grow that way. And so that's something beautiful about flowers.
Right.
But there was one time
That's funny. You remember that? That's exactly what's happening.
Yeah. I remember one time in Colorado, me and my lady were hiking up in the mountains. We were kind of microdosing. I had this sense that purple flowers
I love
they weren't actually purple. It was like that effect. I forget what it's called, but when electricity, you see electricity escaping out of a power line, out of like a bushing, you'll see a purple glow come out of it. It's the same effect of like ultraviolet light. You see this kind of fuzziness, it's a little unclear, and it's a purple glow. I got the sense that the flower was purple because of that effect. And it was a total trip, but
wow, so your eyes started tripping out looking at that thing. Huh?
yeah.
What am I seeing? Right? Can you almost see through the color? What's the real color?
And then it reminded me I wasn't supposed to taste the flower because apparently if you touch this purple flower and rub your eyes, it'll make you blind. And it's some chemical thing, but it makes me wonder, like, what is it about the properties of this flower that are, like, in retrospect, now that I know what I kind of have on my mind now, like, is that flower tuning into some particular star out there in Betelgeuse or whatever, and life on that world is really purple or something. I don't know. I don't know what it's reflecting, but that's pretty interesting.
Right. Yeah, I wonder what vegetation's gonna look like on the mansion worlds and shit. Like,
Yeah.
more shades of purple, more neon. I have a feeling there'll be more purple vegetation.
Yeah. I feel like there's more violet plants. I think there's a mention of that. So
yeah, I think there is in the Urantia movie and in here too. All right. Next, what happened to the background tunes?
I think we're just way out
in the middle of nowhere. Confederate flags up. You already know where we're at.